Did anyone here this Shabbat or watching from home catch the U.S. Open tennis match this past week? The only match that anyone has been talking about on the news? In Masechet Shabbat of the Babylonian Talmud, Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar teaches that he who rends his garments, he who breaks a vessel, or scatters his money in a moment of anger shall be regarded as if he did avodah zarah, idol worship. Needless to say that as I watched the highlight reel from the U.S. Tennis Open this past week, it struck me as remarkable that somehow Novak Djokovic managed to do all three of those things in less than 30 seconds. He was angry at a call. And so Djokovic took his tennis racket, he rent his most precious garment, he then hit a ball at a line judge, another human being, a precious vessel of God, and almost broke her. And as a result of his actions, what happened? He scattered his money. He forfeited the $250,000 prize that he would have had he lost the tennis match. I'd love to make that much money for losing a tennis match. Of course, as Jews approaching the High Holy Day season, we no doubt believe in the power of teshuvah, repentance, and we know that no doubt Djokovic will eventually redeem himself. But is it just me, or does this incident remind us how much angrier we are as a society than what we used to be? Think about it. We're angry about the coronavirus. We're angry about politics. We're angry about either our kids not being back in school or about our kids having to go back to school. We're angry about people wearing masks, or we're angry about people telling us to put on masks. We're angry we don't have jobs, or we're angry about the jobs that we have that we don't like. And all of this anger can't possibly be good for us. My only question is, if Chazal, our sages of blessed memory, see anger as akin to idol worship, where does that leave our world as we enter the new year? And how do we stop and take a deep breath and let all of that anger wash away and subside so we can bring God back into our world? We don't talk about it all that much, but there's another message in Parashat NITZAVIM that we read this week. It reminds us that anger is a slippery slope to idolatry, and that idolatry is a slippery slope to anger. God teaches in this week's parasha that once the Israelites, Am Yisrael, enters Eretz Yisrael, that they're going to go astray after Elohei Nechar, strange gods. And what's going to be the result? God's anger will flare up against them, and I will abandon them and hide my countenance from them as a result. In other words, when we do the wrong thing, it's not only we in this room and we at home who get angry. God gets angry too. And there is a cosmic connection between God and our world and idolatry and anger. Take a look at our world right now. There is so much anger within it, so much frustration. It is clouding the way that we all treat and respect each other on and off of the tennis court. And so as we approach the Yamim Noraim, the high holy days, it seems to me that, like Novak Djokovic, we're all left here with an opportunity to change. And I do believe that if we do exactly the opposite of that first text that we started with this morning, if we use that first teaching as a guideline, we can create an antidote to all of the anger that right now is subsiding and deeply penetrating into our worlds. First, rather than rending our garments in anger, our tennis rackets, if you will, I believe that if we are going to succeed in making a less angry world, we need to start to find a way about caring more about what we have instead of focusing on what we don't. There is a deadly pandemic surrounding the world. And yet how lucky we all are to be here, Shachiyanu v'kiyamanu, How lucky we are to be alive, celebrating even a bat mitzvah. Djokovic made it far in the U.S. Open, but that wasn't enough for him. He got angry. It wasn't enough. He let his anger consume him, his anger, and he nearly ruined and took down a part of himself in the process. Perhaps it's no coincidence that Shimon ben Elazar chooses the image of rending a garment. When do Jews traditionally rend a garment? At a funeral, at Shiva, as a sign of anger. Because when we tear at the fabric of our being and when we become angry, a part of us dies inside. We don't even worship the true God anymore. Nothing makes sense. And we must put a stop, therefore, to this toxic anger consuming our world right now. Second, I believe if we are to diminish the anger in the world around us, instead of breaking vessels, we need to find a way to put them back together. On Kol Nidre, we compare all of humanity. Ki hine kachomer b'yad hayotzer. We are all clay in the image of the potter. We are all material that is meant to be molded into something better than what we are. Which reminds us that no one in this world, no matter what role they play on the tennis court or off of it, is not created in the image of God. That is to say, all of us have the potential to grow and to change. Yet what is this anger doing to us? It's breaking us apart and shattering us as a society. Meaning that the antidote is a healthy dose of treating everyone we see with derech eretz, with kindness, with love, and with respect. Which carries us lastly to what I believe this Shabbat and this new year is the final antidote for our world of idolatry and anger, which is instead of scattering our money, we need to find a way to value the resources in what we have and use it to do good in the world. Imagine, folks. Imagine what good $250,000 could have done in the hands of someone who needed it. One of my favorite teachings about tzedakah, is that even if you are so poor that you take tzedakah out of the tamchoy, out of the soup kitchen, you yourself are taking out of the community chest, you have a responsibility to go give tzedakah too. Because there is always someone in the world who has less than you do. Next week, we're going to read the words, Uteshuva, Utefila, Utsedaka. That is tzedakah that has the power to annul the severity of any divine decree. And there is no greater way to show that we are less angry, less egocentric, than to give of ourselves to another. As we approach the Holy Day season this week, we're going to hear an awful lot about these words, Erech Apayim. Erech Apayim in English means being slow to anger. And we're going to pray specifically that we hope that God is slow to anger. Only as we approach the Holy Day season, I have a second prayer for everyone in this room and everyone who is watching at home. And that is that all of us here today, spiritually and physically, also find a way to be Erech Apayim, that we find a way to be slow to anger as well. Because if we want to build that better world, not one of Avodah Zarah, one of idolatry, then we must engage in Avodat Kodesh, in worship of the true God. We will do that this year, no doubt, by demonstrating the value of our things, by demonstrating the value we all have in one another, and demonstrating the value in what we have in what we give. That is the new year, the teshuvah that Novak Djokovic needs. It is the teshuvah that we all need together. Shabbat Shalom.